Hi, it's your host, Dr. Dequies. Welcome to We Speak Podcast, where we cover everything women's empowerment. Check it out. Jecara Rivera is a dynamic speaker, author, and leadership coach who empowers professionals to lead with confidence, courage, and a guilt-free mindset. With 20 years of experience as a strategic leader in corporate finance, she brings real-world expertise and practical strategies to every stage. Jecara is the author of The Leadership Trifecta and a certified Success Principles trainer, known for her high-energy keynotes and actionable insights. Her signature framework helps audiences excel in self-leadership, career advancement, and work-life balance. Featured in We Empower and Canvas Rebel magazine, Jecara has spoken to organizations like HUD, Elevate Orlando, and the Society of Hispanic Engineers. She is passionate about helping professionals overcome imposter syndrome, increase productivity, and step into leadership with clarity and boldness. Well, hello, ladies, and welcome back to We Sweet Podcast. And today I want to give a very special welcome to Jecara. How are you?
Well, thank you. Glad to be here.
Yes, I'm glad that we connected. I'm super excited about this topic, especially because I have not done a lot of topics that will highlight finance and things of that nature for women to empower their financial health as well. So there's a couple of things that I can't wait to ask you today to
Mhm.
highlight that area. I think I've talked about so many things on this show, but that's one that has not been talked about so far. So I'm excited about that. So let's just give everybody a quick background on you, Jecara. You've held a career for 20 years leading in corporate finance. You are a speaker and an author. Tell us more about how women can own self-leadership.
Oh, awesome. Foundational question because you don't get to stay 20 years in a career without having a foundation in your own self leadership. So, when I speak to my mentees as well as my coaching clients, I tell them the same thing is your past successes and failures, which I like to call lessons learned, is where you will dig deep to become the leader you want to be and continue to be if you're already there. And I see leadership not just in a corporate setting, but leading yourself, leading your family, leading others, but it definitely starts with self. It
Mm-hmm.
for me, that foundation happened when I was a teenager. When I became a teen mom, that was the first pivotal moment of what am I doing and who's going to do it for me? How am I going to fix life? Where am I going from here? Now listen, I wasn't just a normal teenage girl just liking shopping and liking boys. I was purpose driven even as a youngster. Let me tell you, I knew that I wanted to be the first Black female CFO of a major Fortune 500 corporation. Like that was my dream. Now, not just a dream, I could see myself in a black power suit with a briefcase and a French roll. Back in the day, y'all, French roll meant prominence and power. Okay, I wanted that French roll so bad. But even at that time, I took the classes, I got all A's, I was doing great in school, but I let my eyes move away from my goals. And around 15, 16, I wanted to just be in the know. I wanted to I wanted to be liked. I wanted to be with all the cool kids. And then, of course, boys. Whew. I tell my kids today, don't books before booty. Let me just put that out there. Listen, when you have a goal in mind, you need to keep that goal in mind because relationships and being, wanting to be liked and be loved especially at a young age can take you off the track so quickly. So found myself in a situation where I was pregnant at 16 and being pregnant at 16 was not something that many people were. Now it's like everyone got that same story, but it's what you do with it. When I was 16, we were put into what we call a pregnant class. So this is where you learn child rearing and they pretty much tell you, take a look to your left and your right. You're not going to make it. Some of you are going to go to night school. Some of you are going to drop out. We'll help you get your GED. There was no, well, what's your goal and how can we help you get there? It was almost an immediate death sentence of your career, college dreams, or anything.
Mm.
And I took that at first. I was like, wow, it's over. my dreams are dashed. College is over. This corporate CFO that I thought I was going to become, gone. I was so devastated. I wrote my mother this letter, and it was a little pitiful letter. Dequies, I was like, Mom, I'm so sorry. I disappointed you. I
Um,
felt like I embarrassed us in front of our church family, in front of our family. And I know that you don't love me anymore. And whoa, whoa, whoa is me. And so I cried myself to sleep that night. Have you ever cried so much that the pillow was so wet you had to flip it over and cry some more? I tell
mhm,
people, like, you may not understand that pain, but we all have pain. And so we can
mhm,
understand the depths of despair and depression that we all can get into, no matter what your issue might be. But what I found is by reaching out, even if it was a woe is me reach out, my mother, who bless her soul, wrote me this letter back, and I put it in her Bible. She reads her Bible every day, but it still
mhm,
took her 2 days to get back to me. But she got back to me, and her
mhm,
letter back to me was this. And I remember I still have that letter. It said, "Baby girl, there is nothing that you can do that would stop me from loving you."
yeah,
Whew.
mhm,
You talk about weight off my shoulders. I was just like, and then she didn't stop there. She went on and said, "You are loved. You are worthy. You are of royal priesthood. You are redeemed. You are forgiven." Jesus. Having someone have your back and remind you whose you are, we all
mhm,
need cheerleaders in our life for that. And if you don't have that, find someone, find something that you can hold on to that will bring you out of those. Look, doing a little chair right there, the keys. Hold on a minute,
no, me
because
too. No, no, no. I'm fighting. I'm fighting. No, Jakar, I'm fighting. I
whew,
am a super emotional person, so I'm like, don't cry, girl. Don't cry. Don't cry. Don't cry. Yeah.
'cause I
So,
promise you, years later, that hits different, right? It reminds you that, man, we are all those things, but we need to be reminded of that sometimes because we can get ourselves down. And I
mhm,
needed that in my life, and my mother was that for me. But it didn't stop there because I had to believe it for myself to take action.
right,
So
right.
it goes on to me taking the belief my mother had. I had to borrow her belief for a while so
Mm,
that I can
mhm,
move forward. So
mm,
when we talk about the foundations of self leadership, it's number one, you've got to learn how to first and foremost take responsibility where you can, right? Things happen to us in life that we have no, we can't change. We can't change the parents we had. You were rich or poor. You couldn't change that. You grew up in a war torn country. You had trauma as a child. So did 80% of the country, right? How
mm,
can we take responsibility where we can? So the
yeah,
first thing I did was I had to reach out. I could not do this alone. And I think that's one area we all can grow in is stop trying to figure things out on our own and get the help we need. So with
yeah.
that help, and then also blinders on anyone else who told me I couldn't. Okay. I had to put
Mhm,
my blinders on, and I end up graduating high school with a above average GPA, went on to get my BA in finance and also get my master's degree, and then had my child, and he is now, he's saving lives as a firefighter. I'm looking at my baby like I raised him. Look at that. So
yeah.
so knowing that even though that vision I had, and I'm not there yet, y'all. I'm only a couple steps away from CFO. I'm just saying life could still be lifing and you can still reach those original goals, or we learn how to pivot. So those
Yeah.
foundations, how to take 100% responsibility of your life is step one. Let me stop there because I have so much I can just keep digging. Actually,
Yeah.
no, let me give you one more.
Okay. Okay.
E plus R equals O. This is the success formula. When after that transition happened when I was in high school, every other success and
Mhm,
failure, lessons learned, I use the same success formula. E means events. Those are the things that happen to you. I was born a Black woman in America. Can't change that. I can't change the fact that I grew up in a military household. Can't change that. Can't change the fact that things that were afforded to me or not, the things that I was allowed to see or not, the travel I didn't get to do or do. Some things we grow up in and we get so stuck on what happened to us that we
mhm,
forget the second part of the formula is the R, our response. Those are the
mhm,
things we can control, our behaviors, the things we think about, as well as the things we see. What environments do you put yourself in? What education are you learning so that you can get a different O outcome? So the
mm,
event plus your response gives you your outcome. So if you're in
mm,
an area you're not getting the outcome you want, you may not be able to change the divorce, the disease, or the debt, but what can you change in your response to that
mhm,
debt? How can I change the relationship I'm having so I can get a different outcome? And let me
Mhm.
add another level, because sometimes you can do all you can do in your response, put your natural on it, but then you got to let the supernatural add to it so that the outcome can change. Okay. So it's
Amen.
when that's the foundation of how to just really walk into self leadership. Again, whether you're leading a corporate team, your family, or just yourself, get that success formula in mind and always be running through it, especially when things happen that's unexpected. What's my response? Because the world is 10% of what happens to you and 90% of how you respond.
Mm, okay. Yeah, this one's gonna be hard to host. Oh man, Jakara. So you have a beautiful gift. Beautiful, beautiful gift. And I say that because there's so much that you just said,
Mm,
and we haven't even gone past my first question for you that will change people's perspectives, their
mm,
lives. You have moved people emotionally already. You've already empowered them. And I'm just giving you your flowers right now in case I get to the end of this show and I'm so far going. Because I know me, I'll get to talking and be somewhere excited with you. So I'm going to stop right now and give you your flowers and tell you that God has given you a beautiful gift in your life and in your story to empower the masses, to ignite a fire in their soul where no matter what you're dealing with, what the circumstance is, the deepest pain that you have, the ways that you've cried on that pillow at night and soaked it, that there is still promise for you. And
mm,
you've done that and you've moved people emotionally. I'm telling you, I was fighting back tears because I get emotional. And so let's just stop here and say thank you to mama, a very,
mhm,
very special shout out to mom, and giving her so much love in this moment because although I see your spirit and although I see the drive in you that is yours and yours alone because God put that there, right? I also see what mom did for you. And
yes, ma'am.
we don't know when we don't have that, what the trajectory may be. When
Mhm,
people don't feel supported, when they don't feel loved, worthy, valued, or when they do something or make a decision that changes the path of their life in some form of fashion and feel like it's over. And then
mhm,
they go to classes like you mentioned that you'd gone to, walking through the door, being told immediately it's over. But to have your warrior stand beside you and say, no, 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 don't you give up right here. This isn't give up. You know, this is not going to be easy, but this is not give up. This is you got to remember who you are if you're going to do this. And so
mm,
I am so proud of Mama for being someone so influential in one of the toughest moments of your life to make sure you did not quit.
mhm.
And now you are just here before CFO.
Come on.
And a lot of that comes from somebody who empowered you. So thank you for empowering women. I love collaborating with people. And so immediately I have a whole bunch of people in my head like, oh, I want to connect her to her and I want to connect her to her and I want to. So, I'm going to do that too when this is all done. I have a cousin that has a very similar story, very similar story. She's doing absolutely amazing today, but she has a similar story. So I want to connect you with my cousin too. But anyway, you started to get into these core principles, and I don't know if you had others that you wanted to mention, Jakar, before I jump on, but I love where we are. And so I want to slow it down and just ask you if you have other core principles of self leadership. I know you got into your formula,
Mhm.
but you're coming in hot, and I don't want to stop what's organically happening.
Oh yes, I have gold nuggets for days. Look, in my book, The Leadership Trifecta, I call them Jacara's jewels because some things are just so good that I'm throwing. I have to make sure I'm sharing the wealth because it's these practical steps and tips that help us to move forward. It's great to be motivated and feel good for the moment. You can listen to a podcast and say, yes, I can do it. But when the podcast goes off, what is it that you are going to do next? What's the change? So the success formula falls under what I call courage, taking the courage to have to take 100% responsibility of your life. Again, events happen, and sometimes there are things that happen that you had no control over, and they hurt
Mhm.
you, and they hurt you deeply, but you can't change it. What can you change? Can you change your perspective? Can you reframe it? Can you take that pain and then make that, take that mess and make it a message, right? Take that test and turn it to a testimony. How can we transition the way the things that happen to us to think differently about them so we can get that first outcome? So having the courage to remove all blaming, all complaining. It's not the government, right? I mean, and like I said, sometimes it is. Sometimes I grew up poor, I didn't have the money. Okay. And what can you do next, right?
Yeah.
Spend all of your time focusing on what you can control and then give the rest to God. Okay. That's where we want to have the courage to step forward, right?
Mhm.
The second foundational principle, again, I learned from being a teen mom and all the other things that happened as well. Because after that, right, I mentioned having all the success getting out of school, but life didn't happen. Love didn't happen right away. I bought a house, lost the house, right? Found myself financially, like I'm the corporate finance queen. How did I find myself in financial debt and having, my home foreclosed on? And then turning back around and God is so good, able to buy my house the next one. So it's like life happens. But if we're focusing on all the things that aren't working well, then we have to focus on that response so we can get the outcome we want. So again, that's the courage that we want to step forward in. But then confidence is the other foundation I want to talk about next is, and the idea with confidence is not something that just comes. Confidence comes with taking action, doing something well, and then saying, oh, I did that. I can do it again. Oh, I went through
Mhm.
that trial and obstacle. I can do it again. So
Yeah.
confidence doesn't come just by sitting and reading books and listening to songs. You have to do, and you have to
Yeah.
be willing to fail so that you can succeed. You have to start ugly. You have to just go for it and get into it. So when
Mhm.
I think of confidence, really what I'm thinking about there is taking action and asking for help.
Mhm.
Mm. When I
Mhm.
say ask for help, I remember when I was a young mom, I was at the daycare, and
Mhm.
daycare is like mortgage. It's still like mortgage, especially as you have an infant or a toddler. But I was, this whole I can independent, I can handle this. Okay, baby daddy not in the picture, but that's all right. I got this. I fell behind on a couple weeks of daycare payments. And like any good business person, they'll say, you can't pay, you can't stay. So I
Mhm.
was like, oh, I'm gonna get it together. It'll never happen again. I was embarrassed. I'm like, okay, what do I do? There was government assistance. And I was like, I don't want to ask. I can handle this. Then the third time it happened, she was like, you can't handle this. If there's help that you can ask for, you need to ask. What's crazy is I applied immediately for the assistance, for the daycare assistance, and got it like within the next week. They paid over half of the daycare bill. So now I don't have to figure out, am I eating today or is my baby going to daycare? Why was I so afraid to lean in and ask for the help that I needed? A lot of it,
Mhm.
sometimes it's pride. Other times it's embarrassment. We don't want other people to think that we need something. And we
Mhm.
sometimes we get in our own way. There was nothing that was stopping me from applying until I just did it. So once I got the help that I needed, that just gave me the extra push to be able to make even better decisions going forward. So taking action is so important. And if you can't do it by yourself, and most of the time we can't, we are not meant to live this life alone. We can make sure we surround ourselves with people who can
Mhm.
cheerlead us, who can give us the resources or help us find the resources so that we can move forward. But having the confidence, first and foremost, to just take the action, build on the confidence, do things well, and then also asking for help to be able to build up on all the foundations we've already learned. So making sure that we're taking the courage to lead and the confidence to take the action that's necessary to be a better version of ourselves.
Yeah, love this, love this. So a couple of just things I want to jump in here and say um to the point of confidence, and I just want to share our own personal testimony to the listeners is that I recently, and some people in my immediate community already know this. They've seen me talk about it online, but I recently published an academic article, and it's a tough experience, and
Mm.
you will feel like, "I'm not good at this," or, "I don't know who made me think I could do this." And so all those thoughts kick in when you get the level of feedback that you get from editors, and there's a lot that could be said about that process, but this was, like, over a year process, and towards the end of it, I was about to say, okay, you know what? That's okay. Let me just shift gears and take this journal, this article, this manuscript somewhere else because maybe I'm not, enough here.
Mhm.
So then you go ahead and you decide for yourself, not enough. And then you go for a cop out, in my opinion, is what I was doing, if I'm just going to be honest.
Mhm.
And it was something about that with, and I think of your mom about those editors who were like, okay, yeah, we're being harsh on you because we believe in it. So tighten up. And they were very helpful. And instead of just giving me blanket advice, they were going line by line to give advice. And when your editor does that, that lets you know they're
Mhm.
invested. Because they could just say, you need to redo this. But they went line for line for line with me. And I was like, okay, so they're helping a lot. Let me fix this. And to your point of the confidence, you taking that risk, doing it, being afraid, having imposter syndrome, all the things, but when you finish, when it's
Mm.
done, you look at that and you say, "Okay, I did it," "I
Mhm.
can't do this." And then you take another step and another step and another step. So I just want to tell women, to your point on confidence, your second point, when there's something you are afraid to do, do it, because the
Mhm.
confidence comes when you do the thing that you're afraid to do. So, I wanted to jump in and share that personal testimony to that. And then,
Yes.
my last point, you mentioned asking for help or being open to the help when it's given, because sometimes people give and we won't accept. So it's one way or the other.
Mhm.
And I think that there's something to be said, and I'm all about accountability too. So I think there's something to be said in understanding the difference between expecting the world to carry you because you're just angry at the world, angry at your circumstances, and it's everybody else's fault that everybody else is against you, government's against you, everybody else is against you, and you refuse to help self, right? But
Mhm.
then there is, I'm doing the best I can. I found myself in a tough situation, but I'm doing my best. I apply myself, and no matter the principles and standards I have for myself, this thing has gotten hard and I need help. I think
Mhm.
there's a difference in understanding that, and I say that because I don't want people who do need help, whether it's government assistance or anything else in life, help raising your kids, help getting into school, help finishing school, because so many people have that battle too, where they just can't even get done with school, and they've tried everything, and there's just not enough support for them. And so I say that because don't look at yourself and be ashamed or embarrassed that you need support, because
Mhm.
there's a difference in having absolutely no agency, mad at the world, it's everybody else's fault, and the world is supposed to carry you, versus I have tried. I have standards and principles for myself, but this thing has gotten beyond me and God help me. That's a
Mhm.
difference. There's a
Yes.
difference in that. And so I just wanted to, I'm very passionate to say that, and I want women to hear that. That don't give up on yourself. Don't be ashamed at accepting help. Don't feel bad that you've gotten to a space where you need it. You didn't fail. You're not a statistic and all these things. If you have the agency and drive to get up and just
Mhm.
try, then there's a difference in that.
Yes. Oh, that's so
That's
good. Because the point you just hit the nail on the head, and what just drives another thought into my mind is about the taking action and moving forward. I do in some of my keynotes, I will have someone stand at the end of the aisle and I'll be at the front and I say, all you need to do in the back is just tell me to go. And every few seconds they're like, go. I'm walking, and then I'll start walking to the left and they'll be like, no. Or they say, what do I have to say? I hadn't done it in a while. But or on track, off track, off track, right? So on
Mhm.
course or off course, one of those words. And so I'll start leaning to the left and they'll start yelling at me like, come back, you're going the wrong way. And then I'm like, okay, let me walk back. And then they're like, on course, on course. And then the minute I start straggling to the other side, and then I go like, la, 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 hands in my ears. And they're like, off course, what are you doing? So I do this a couple of times. And the idea at the end of this is what I asked the audience, okay, what was happening? Before I was trying and I was going off track and I didn't know what to do. And I, you know, got lost and someone brought me back. And then other
Mm,
times I was just completely ignoring the risk and I was just doing whatever I wanted to do because I thought I was right and I was mad at the world, right? And
yes.
then the idea is the only time I just need to continue to focus on the goal. Keep going forward. Sometimes we let emotions take over. We need to learn
Mhm.
from our mistakes and our failures. Other times we just don't know what to do. We get lost. We need someone to tell us to get back on course. And that's okay. You need direction and guidance. Sometimes it's
Yeah,
us managing ourselves. Other times it's allowing others to come and help manage us. And it's
yeah.
okay to move forward. It's okay to get off track, but the idea is keep your eyes on the prize and move forward in the direction that you know is right for you. What's your purpose and your assignment, as well
Yeah.
as what you define success to be for yourself. Move toward that and then continue to surround yourself with people who want the
Mhm.
best for you as well. And then keep walking
Yeah.
in that. But when you stop and you're like, man, I'm mad at the world and what they doing and what they did this to me, they need to, or it's
Mm,
like I have a friend who's like, I can't stand my parents. They didn't raise me right. They didn't teach me about money. They didn't teach me. Okay, it's time to parent yourself because you can't change the way they parented you. You know what you know now or don't know. What are you going to
mhm,
do about it? So you
mhm.
need to get back on course and then allow, the world, your lessons learned again. Your failure doesn't make you a failure, right? When we
Mhm.
make a mistake, that doesn't mean you're a mistake. And we get
Yeah,
lost in that as well. So we got to be able to, have that. That's the last point is resilience. We have
yeah.
to be able to, when life does not happen the way we want to, remember that outcome may not be exactly what we expected, and it's woe is me all over again. I talk about this on course, off course. The other analogy I give is I can get on a plane in Orlando, Florida. My goal is to go to Los Angeles, California. That plane, once it's in the air, any plane that's in the air, they have their little black box. They can tell when it goes on autopilot. Did you know that 90% of the time that that plane is on autopilot, it is off course? The whole time that plane is in the air, it's shifting, the wind's blowing, and then it has to move it back on track. And then turbulence happens, and then it has to move it back on track. Birds come, and someone may have to take over manually so they can get out of the way, and then it gets back on track. That's our life. Success is not just from one step to the other. There's some ups and downs and back and forth and off track, on track failures, mistakes, successes, highs, lows, strong confidence, low confidence, starting new
Mhm.
things, scary. And then we're gonna land in Los Angeles. We're gonna get there. But when we
Yeah,
get up in Orlando and then we land in New Orleans, because it's like, whoa, I'm tired. Oh my gosh, it's so hard. And then you get back up in the air, which takes a lot more time and energy than it is just to stay in the air. And then we land in Arizona and we're in the desert. Woe is me. My life is over. I'm all by myself. No one understands. And then we got to get back in the air. It takes us much
yeah.
longer when we're doing that. So whether you're Orlando to Florida could be your career growth. It could be a relationship that you're working on and trying to build. It could be your own personal healing journey. As long
Mhm.
as you keep moving, you can be off course 90% of the time, but if you just keep
Yeah.
moving, taking action, asking for help, mastering your own thoughts, overcoming those limiting beliefs that are holding you back, that imposter syndrome we talked about, those ideas of the I'm not worthy enough, get those out
Mhm.
of your mind and refocus and reframe those things that are happening to you. Focus on what you can control. You're going to land. You're going to get there, and God's going to be in control of the whole thing the whole way. So you just got to
Yeah,
do your part. And
yeah,
we're going to land for sure. So the 3
yeah,
points again, that courage of taking the self leadership, 100% responsibility for yourself, having the confidence to take action and ask for help. And lastly, the resilience to overcome setbacks because they will happen. They will come. I'm promising you they are, but to know that you can overcome those as well.
yeah, yeah. These are absolutely amazing. Thank you, Jakara. And I'm gonna move to the second one, but before I do, I just want to mention that We Sweet was built off of a space of community, and I'm very big on community. And so sometimes people who are afraid for people to know their struggle
Yeah.
or receive help or think that they don't have it under control, fear judgment. And in the world, we're worried about what the next person thinks. But the reality is, every individual has a course that you just mentioned.
Mm,
From here to here, we all have a course. And that thing goes up and it goes down and it goes up and it goes down for everybody. I don't care how great the world projects it, how much it seems like it's all good. Everybody in some season of life will have to need some type of support.
mhm.
And That's where your community comes into play. You need community. We all need community,
Yes.
and we talk about when there's children, oh, there it takes a village. It takes a village to do life. It takes a village to do life. Can you imagine being here by yourself? No population of Earth. Can you imagine that? So when you get into a mindset that, "Oh, I can't let these people know I need help, I can't, we all need each other in different ways, in different
Hmm.
capacities. But if you have that broader mindset, then you stop facing it as judgment and shame, and you start to realize this is my season of life and how I need help in this moment, but their day will come. So there's no need to be embarrassed. There's no need to have judgment because everybody needs something at some point. So I wanted to throw that in there before
Yes.
we hit this next one. And I got a couple for you, so I'm going to keep it rolling.
Okay.
Jakara, what is the number one productivity killer you've seen in women? How can we tackle the concern?
There's There's 2, and one I've already mentioned is not asking for help, right? The other
Mm-hmm.
one is saying yes to everything, to everyone, is
Mm-hmm.
we may have a tendency to have our own goals, but then when the needs of others come, we are naturally caring. We can be naturally caring and compassionate for others, but we allow everyone else's agenda to overtake our own. So now I'm helping the kids, I'm helping mama, I'm helping the cousins, I'm helping the friends, and we've not determined what's the most valuable use of your time. So when I see people who are overwhelmed, they're trying to do everything, and I'm an overachiever, right? I've always been, and I am an overcoming perfectionist. I'm slowly I still, some areas I'm great in, other areas I'm still learning to let it go, Jar. It doesn't have to be perfect. But in times where I want to just do everything or I feel everything is my own, I find that I get burnt out. I'm overwhelmed, and I have to stop and breathe. And this is a question I tell everyone to ask themselves. What is
Mm-hmm.
the most valuable use of my time? Sometimes that's doing the task I'm doing right now. Others, I need to support my parents in this, in their season of life right now. Other times, it might just be self-care. I need to sit down somewhere, get 'em a cup of coffee,
Mm-hmm.
take a day off and breathe. I have a one of my clients that has toddlers, and so she goes into the laundry room and closes the door. That's her quiet space for like 5 minutes. She's like, if I just need to breathe, what's the most valuable use of my time? My baby crying, this is going on, I'm cooking, I'm cleaning. I just need me for 5 minutes, right? So figuring out what that is, and I think finding these proactive productivity hacks are so important of learning how to. Some things we just need to stop doing. Other things we need to delegate to others to do, and some things we need to figure out how we can outsource because someone else can do the cooking and cleaning, maybe depending on your status and where you can handle that. Other times it might just be I just need to get the emails or some of those kitchen cooking things and or be able to quickly get those done or have the groceries delivered. Walmart has the grocery pickup. All the grocery stores do now. So instead of going to the grocery store, some of that's free. Let me just put this online and go and pick it up so I can save myself some time. What can you do? These are some of the things that we can do to get some of these things off our plate. So I think
Yeah.
that's important is to help out with that burnout and that feeling of overwhelm, knowing what's valuable, as
Mm-hmm.
well as finding
Yeah.
ways to get those things aren't valuable off your plate.
Mm-hmm. Um, I won't stay here long because if I do, I won't get where I need to get to. But I'll say this: you are at my front door with balancing out. What we're saying yes to when it comes to ourselves and to others. And that is something that present day for me, I am working on. But I thought that was really important. I think that can affect your productivity when you lose focus and track of what are your own priorities that you may push to the side for the sake of showing up and doing all the womanly things for everyone else. So I love that, Jakara. So let's talk about financial empowerment. This is the part I could not wait to get to because we do have women who lead their own businesses or who want to do so one day. Or maybe it's just a personal goal to figure out how to be better at their personal finances. What questions should women ask themselves about their financial empowerment?
Awesome question. I would mention in my book, The Leadership Trifecta, in the last chapter, my friend Valise Smith, she is a tax specialist, just wonderful accolades that she has, and she has the ABCs of finances. She talks about accounting. So when you own your own business, being able to have that tax planning in place, spending money is one thing, spending it well and making sure that you have the good advice in place is important. B, for budgeting, knowing what goes in and what comes out. And C, for credit. If you're building a business, having good credit is important when you want to expand or scale. But personal finance, credit can be a detriment if you're not using it well because you'll get into debt and unable to get out of it. So that's an important understanding the distinction between the two. But whether it's personal and or business, you want to first know what your goals are. And I think self-assessment first. How much money am I making? How much debt do I have? And these are scary things to consider because sometimes we don't even look at them. What retirement savings do I have? Understand where you are and then have a plan with where you want to go because just making more money, that's not a goal in and of itself. Do you want to have a bigger house? Do you need to have a business? Are you looking to build a nonprofit? And then how much does it take to get there? That's the plan that you'll need to build from there. So you need to know where you are, know where you want to go, figure out how much it's going to take to get there, and then building that path of career. Maybe it's starting a small business. Maybe you start in a smaller business before you build into the one you want. And these are all ideas that getting a coach or a mentor in the business that you're looking forward to can give you that insight that you need. So we want to make sure that you're surrounding again, and education is key there. So it might be books, it could be people, it could be a mastermind where you're getting like-minded people, business folks who think like you think, so that they can give you the tools that you need to move forward. And insurance is always important. We like to leave that out, but we having insurance is going to be important to catch you in those times when things don't will turn out the way you expect them to.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Jakara. I think these were absolutely awesome to get women started. I think these were awesome to get women started and at least point them into the direction of inspecting where they are and creating a plan with, someone like yourself or a coach or something like that to bring these things to fruition because I know it can be overwhelming when this just isn't something that either you love to do or just simply don't know how to do. So I couldn't wait to get to that part of the show because again, I haven't talked about that a lot on We Sweet.
And I want to add one thing. And again, education is important to me. One of the books that I follow for personal finance is How to Get Rich. And I'll give you the author name. You can put in the show notes. I think that's important for folks to just educate themselves. And if you're not a reader, because a lot of people say I don't read books, I would love to just encourage you, go to YouTube, say, give me a 10 or 15-minute summary of this book, and then allow the education to happen. So don't let I don't like to read get in your way of bettering yourself financially, as well as business scaling your business to be bigger.
Amazing. So this is my last one for you, Jakara. What should women stop doing that limits their self-leadership and financial freedom?
Whew. I think all women are different and we all have different ways of doing things. So it's hard to have a one stop answer. But what I would say is we have to stop allowing other people's agendas to overtake ours. And kind of said that before in our previous conversation of putting up those boundaries, of being able to say, this is what success looks like for me. If you want to be a good parent, that's your definition, not your mom's, not your cousins, not society. You have to put boundaries around what you believe and set forth and work toward that goal. We also need to stop waiting for permission to do the things that we know we're purpose driven to do. We wait
Yeah.
until we have the right timing. We wait until we have the exact right support. We need to
Mhm.
just take action, prioritize those things and do, and stop trying to make it wait until things are perfect or other people to jump on board. Do the thing. And
Mhm.
lastly, comparison is the thief of joy. Stop
Yeah.
comparing your chapter 1 with someone else's chapter 20. You see where they are now. You're looking at the highlight reel on social media and you're looking at, oh, why am I not there? And I don't want to start until mine looks like that. Don't compare your journey to anyone else's. It's yours. This is your
Mhm.
E, your R, your O. This is God's supernatural on your natural. You can't take anyone else's story. You see their glory. You may not see the story. You may not see the depression. You may not see the times they were on their knees crying. If you really wanted to get what they had, you may not want what they had to go through to get that. So I'm gonna
Yeah,
ask you to worry about your life
yeah,
and
yeah,
stop comparing your chapter 1 to their chapter 20. And then for those that are in chapter 20, anytime you start something new, you start over. Because when you get to 20, you got to start at 21 to get to 30. Once you're at 30, you got to start at the bottom of that chapter to move to your next. So
yeah,
stop comparing even your past journey to your current one, because you may have to pivot and change and keep that long term goal in front of us. Don't compare. Look at where you are today and trust that that purpose that's in you that you're working toward, that's yours for you. That's your work to do. And stop looking at anyone else's and walk in that for real. Whew, that was good.
yeah. I
That just
love when
reminded me of my own thing, girl. I have to stay
yeah.
focused.
I know. Don't you love how that happens? Don't you love you're talking to people and you're giving them encouragement, and then you're like, okay, God, wait a minute.
That was mine.
But yeah, I love it, Jecara. It has been awesome, and I can't wait to bring you back to the studio because there's just so many other things I want us to talk about. And so I'll talk to you later about all of that. But where can our listeners connect with you?
I'd love to offer your audience a free resource on how to make boundaries beautiful. I want to teach you how those productivity hacks that we talked a little bit about. I want to go a lot deeper in this resource, and you can go to the site stress2successguide.com, stress2successguide.com to get that free resource. You'll learn a little bit about me and other ways to connect. But that's the best way to reach out to me and learn more about the services I offer. And I believe that particular resource will be a big benefit to all those that download that.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Jecara. We will make sure that the ladies are routed to you accordingly. It has been a blessing, an honor. It has been absolutely amazing to talk to you. And thank you so much.
Back at you, Dr. Dequies. This is beautiful. I love the conversation. You are a great interviewer.
Oh,
And
thank
you building this
you.
community is so important. I've heard the podcast. You're building it so people who are listening can touch every area of their life to be a better person, be the best of themselves, and then trusting that God has it all in control. Thank you for building that kind of community.
Oh, the last part is you said it like it's all glory to God that He made this happen. So thank
Mhm.
you so, so much.
Thank you for following the We Sweet podcast. Don't forget to follow me on Insta at Dr. Dickies L. It's in the podcast bio. See you ladies soon.